Obesity in America. It's something we don't like talking about, but it's hard to ignore. Let's face it, we're getting fat. In fact, it's so bad, some call it an epidemic. But these are the facts. America's obesity has not doubled, it's tripled in the past 50 years. The CDC defines obesity as anyone with a body mass index over 30. In the 1960s, that was only about 14% of our population, but today, it's closer to 40%. But why is it so bad to be overweight? Well, it's dangerous. The census says the two primary drivers of mortality are smoking and obesity.
Hi, my name is Catherine, and this is the Chubby Adventurer. I decided to do this podcast to kind of keep myself accountable. I love taking adventures and going places with friends and doing things on my own, but they become few and far between once I started gaining a lot of weight when I moved from the Bay Area to where I'm currently now. I moved to Sacramento about 7 years ago, and it was a rather depressing time for me, and I gained a ton of weight. So this is my ode to myself to keep me accountable and to hopefully motivate other people along the way. I'm 35 years old. I decided this year is going to be my year, and decided to skydive for my 36th birthday, but I am overweight for that right now. So that's going to be adventure number 1, and adventure number 2 is hiking Half Dome. I love to hike. I love the outdoors. So I do a lot of hiking now. I'm nowhere near in shape enough to do Half Dome yet and go up those cables. That's an extremely scary hike that's 18 miles round trip, and it takes about 12 hours to do, and I currently can probably only hike for about 5 hours. So this is my attempt to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable every step of the way. This is podcast 1, and I wanted to start with finding my why. I believe that when you start with why, you are more able to stay with your actual goal in mind. And my why is I'm tired of feeling like crap every day. My body does not keep up with me. I want to be able to do more with my life. I want to help other people motivate themselves to do more with their life. This podcast is not about weight loss. This is about me getting to my healthy weight and my healthy life. I want to be able to do things when I'm in my 40s, 50s, 60s. I have a mom who had a heart attack, 2 heart attacks in the last 7 years, and she's unable to move and do things and can't really be out of the house for more than an hour at a time because she just doesn't feel good. And I don't want that for my future. I don't see myself as being somebody who's stuck at home, and I think that would just be the worst thing in the world to ever happen. So I am finding my why. And how I came to my why is I started asking myself questions. Why do I want to lose weight? And at first I started with something shallow, like I want to look good. Well, it's not always about just looking good. It's not always about, what your appearance is on the outside. It's not about what society deems that you should look. And so I asked myself again, well, why do I want to look good? Well, because I'm single. Well, that's not really a why. So I kept digging in, and I kept digging, and I finally just kept asking that same question. Why do I want this? Why do I want to lose weight? And I finally came to the point where it was like, well, I don't want to have a heart attack at age 50. My grandmother had a heart attack at 52, had 19 heart attacks, and died, I think 4 or 5 times or maybe more on the table when she was having a heart attack. My mom, 3 years after that, or my grandma was 52 when she had it. My mom was 55 when she had her first heart attack. She didn't die on the table, thank God, but it's in my history, my family history of heart attacks, and I'm overweight, and I'm just terrified of having my health deteriorate over time. So that's why I want to start with why. A lot of people think that, if you want to do the revenge body or this, I know Khloe Kardashian had a whole show about revenge body, and I actually thought about that at one point. I had revenge body at one point when I broke up with one of my boyfriends, or he broke up with me. I don't remember. He probably broke up with me. And I did the revenge body, and it didn't stick. I lost my motivation. I mean, I got skinny. He thought it was great, whatever. It was a shallow reason for me. If that's your reason why, then all the more power to you. Whatever you need to push you forward is what you should be doing. For me, it is 100% my health and being able to go and do the things that I like to do. About 2 years ago, I started hiking, and I couldn't do more than 3 miles. I was tired. I would go home and I would just sleep for the rest of the day. And my friend, I felt like I was holding her back, and I would tell her, well, maybe we'll just go every other week, so she could go and actually be able to do a longer hike, and one that was, more to her athletic level. And now, 2 years later, I mean, it wasn't constant every weekend for the last 2 years. I would say since January, we've been consistent going every single weekend, sometimes twice on the weekend, to do all of these hikes. And now I do anywhere between 5 to 8 miles. And these hikes are not flat ground anymore. These are like harder hikes with super inclines. Like we do one, it's called Training Hill. It's in Auburn, California. And it is one of the hardest hikes that I've ever done. And we do it consistently every week now. First time it took me 5 hours to complete. Now I'm down to about 2 hours and 45 minutes to complete it. And it's just staying consistent. So when you find your why, you either dive in completely or you just fall off the wagon. So my friend and I have a commitment to each other. I am to get below 200 pounds so I can go skydiving for my birthday. For her birthday, we decided that we're going to hike Half Dome. So these are our 2 adventures that we have planned for the future. And we find out actually Monday the 12th, April 12th, if we get our permits for Half Dome. And if we don't get our permits for Half Dome, we're somehow still going to hike it. We're going to go and see if we can get, jump on somebody else's permit with them, called permit jumping. It's one of those things where it is going to happen. I don't know how. I don't know if we're going to have to wait or what it's going to do, but this is something in my head that I am going to make happen. And like I said earlier, I am not anywhere near in shape enough to do that hike yet, but I have at least 6 weeks in order to get there, and I plan on getting there. And I plan on using this podcast as my motivation and my commitment to myself to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. So if anybody ever needs to figure out how to get to their why, I will suggest books that I read. I will suggest anything and everything, things that help me, people who help me, workout plans that help me, anything that I can think of to help other people as well, because it's not always about yourself. Sometimes you have to look at how you can help people around you in order to make your dreams come true. And when you help those around you, and you help people get to where they want to be, you inevitably get to where you want to be. So finding your why is something that I started with Simon Sinek.
By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief?
And I read his book. I take that back. I actually listened to his audiobook because reading the book was really difficult. It's kind of a boring book, so I do highly suggest getting the audiobook and finding your why. It's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and it basically gives you tools to figure out things that you want to do. It's not for weight loss, it's for business really, but you can do it for whatever you need and whatever you need to find your why for. So finding your why for me helped me realize that I don't want to be 200 and I think when I started I was 283 pounds. I've lost 20 pounds in the last 2 months, and I have about 63 pounds to go. So it's just committing to it. It doesn't always have to be motivation. My motivation dwindles every day, and then the next day it might be super high. It's all about finding your why and your discipline. So disciplining your mind to think like, well, yeah, I don't want to do this today, but will I regret it tomorrow? Yes, I want to eat this chocolate bar today, but will I regret it tomorrow? And when you start to ask yourself questions like that, you start to realize like, hey, I don't always have the answer, and no, I'm not going to always have the discipline or the motivation to say no to things. But if I think about it in a way where, hey, tomorrow I'm going to really regret this handful of, chocolate covered almonds. So that's my vice, is chocolate covered almonds. So I'm really going to regret this handful of chocolate covered almonds. Or, hey, maybe this handful of chocolate covered almonds will motivate me to do an extra 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes on the treadmill, or lift a little bit more weights, or lift a little bit heavier, or push me. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can have your little vices, just make sure that you're going to counteract it. So if you're going to eat, for example, a Snickers bar, are you going to run that extra 10, 20 minutes on the treadmill, or walk that extra 20 minutes on the treadmill? You got to give up something in order to gain something. And I think that's where a lot of people who have food addiction issues, like myself, have the problem. Am I going to give up that plate of nachos to go work out? Am I going to give up that plate of nachos to figure out going to eat that plate of nachos, or am I going to lose another 1 to 2 pounds this week? And once you start to see your success and you start to feel it in your body, and other people start to notice, you start to get more confidence in yourself. And when you have that confidence, you start to build, and you start to figure out that, this is where you want to be. This is what you want to feel. This is the energy. I mean, I hate working out. And I worked out at one point with one of my friends who was a bodybuilder. I was going to do a competition with her. I was all gung-ho about it. I worked out twice a day, every day, 6 days a week for a year and a half. And I got burnt out. I hate the gym. That's why I have my own home gym now, because that way I don't have to go to the gym anymore. And I have no excuses not to work out. My only excuse is, I don't really feel like it. I would rather sit on the couch and be lazy. And then 2 hours later, it's like, well, I really should have gotten that workout in. And the reason why is because now I feel guilty, because I let myself down. I didn't let anybody else down. I just let myself down. And when you let yourself down, you start to go into a depressive funk. And I would definitely get into that depression funk. It just would kill me, and I would not want to get up to go work out, go walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes, go do a little bit of weightlifting for another 30 minutes. I didn't want to do it. I'd rather stay in bed and sleep. But later that day, I would feel really guilty. And then because I felt guilty, I would do something stupid like eat something that wasn't entirely healthy. I'm a pretty healthy person when it comes to food. I actually don't eat nachos. My biggest vice is the chocolate covered almonds. I'm allergic to beef and anything from a cow. So even eating the chocolate covered almonds, I really have to weigh out the options. Like, Do I want to die later, or do I want to eat this, chocolate right now and die later from it? So it's one of those things where, is it actually worth it? And I find that if you ask yourself that every time you go to eat something that isn't really good for you, you have a tendency to be like, well, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. But when you just do things out of boredom, like eating the bag of chips while you're deciding if you want to eat chips, and you eat a serving size right then and there, it's something that we all do. However, every time I go to eat something, I ask myself this: is this going to help me get to my goal? Is this going to help me achieve it, or is this going to help me push it away? So you have to ask yourself every time, does this help me or does this hurt me? And if you don't care that it hurts you, then you have not found your actual why, or your why is not big enough in order for you to make those sacrifices. So I make sure that my why is big enough and it's something that I want. So for me, these 2 adventures that I have, Half Dome and skydiving, are the 2 big adventures that I cannot let go. I am terrified of heights. Just to put this out there, I don't want to jump out of a perfectly good plane, but I think that if I were on my deathbed tomorrow and I never even tried to go skydiving, I would regret it. Next year, my plan is to go swimming with sharks. I'm going to take that back. I don't think it's going to be swimming with sharks. I think it's going to be more along the lines of like being in a cage and the sharks be around me. I want some sort of barrier because I am terrified of Jaws, but these are my whys. I want to do these adventures before I die. I want to make sure that I live my life. Nobody ever regrets the things that they did. They regret the things that they didn't do. I mean, of course, people might regret the way that they treated somebody, but my point is, you don't regret adventures or doing things that were fun in your life, or things that might have scared you a little bit. So that's my thing, is I want to do something that scares me a little bit every year, because it shows me that I'm alive, and being alive is basically the point. I don't want to go to work every day just to barely get by. Barely getting by it's no fun. So getting to the point where I found what I want in my life, it took 35 years to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I found that it's help other people with either their weight loss problems or with their confidence, whatever it is that it might be that you need help with. So I do encourage people to leave comments, ask questions. If I don't know the answer, I will find out the answer. I do plan on being very active on this podcast. So if people, until I don't know what I'm trying to say. I do plan on being very active with this podcast. So I do plan on answering questions. If people want to know more about me, if you guys have questions, if you have, ideas for a future podcast or something that I should do, please leave comments, questions, any kind of things in the comment box. I will do my best to answer anybody and everybody who does have a question. Follow me on Instagram. It's cat.thompson.2585 on Instagram.com. It's not Instagram.com. It's just Instagram. I don't know. I'm very new to Instagram. I think I've only been on Instagram for about 3 months. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up with the whole finding your why. So if you find your why and you decide that you want to take on this weight loss journey with me, I encourage you to find your own adventures, share them with me. Share your successes. I will be sharing my successes and my failures. I do encourage everybody to also share their failures, because people who fail are at least trying. those who aren't doing anything aren't going to fail. They're not going to succeed. You're going to fail 9 times out of 10, but that 10th time, when you finally have your first win, or you lose that first 5 pesky pounds that don't want to come off, or you build that business that you want, you're going to start to have momentum. And that's what we want to do, is we want to build momentum. And this is my momentum. I was scared as hell coming into this today. I didn't want to do it. I was freaked out for myself. I didn't want to put myself out there for the world to see me or to hear my story. All right. I would like to end every podcast with a challenge. So this week, my podcast is Finding Your Why. I want everyone to find their why. Why do they want to lose weight? Why do they want to get healthy? What is their purpose? And if it's something, like the revenge body, or because you're afraid of your health down the road. We only have today to find our body, to make our bodies better for tomorrow. And that's the same thing and the same concept when you think about 5-10 years down the road. You can spend 8 months sacrificing, going out to eat with your friends, sacrificing the lunches or dinners out, or going out and partying. If you can sacrifice those 8 months to get where you want to be, you'll be leaps ahead of everybody else. So this week, everybody, find your why. What is your purpose for losing weight? So if you guys can do that, please put in the comments, what is your why, and why do you believe that it'll help you stay consistent? But I'm here. I'm committed to this. I'm committed to other people finding what they need to do in order to get where they want to be. And I really hope that everybody will share this journey with me. Disclaimer, I am not a nutritionist. I am not a personal trainer. I am not your doctor. I am not your therapist, and I am not your life coach. Anything that you hear from me on this podcast is completely what I'm doing. It's what's working or not working for me. I do encourage everybody to see a doctor before they start any sort of weight loss program. I will be full disclosure. I went to my doctor. I started to. She wanted me to get blood work done. And in the chair, getting my blood work done, the woman missed my vein, started poking around in there, and I went into full panic attack mode and started having cold sweats, panicking, needed a paper bag to breathe into. And then I finally chickened out and said, take the needle out of my arm. You missed the vein. We're done. And I haven't gone back yet. So don't be like me. Go and get your blood work done. Go to your doctor. See what you need to do in order to do any sort of weight loss program or any kind of program, workout, exercise, anything that's healthy and going to be okay for you. This is the one thing that I'm going to tell people. Do not do what I did, because I am just dove in, and I feel like I know my body well enough to know what I can and can't do. I know that I can't run right now because I have really bad knees. I know that someday I will be running, but it's just not now until I can lose a little bit more weight. So I do encourage everybody to keep in contact, message me, find me on Instagram, follow my hiking adventures to get, to see if I'm successful. And when I do go to Half Dome, it'll be something that I hope to celebrate with everybody. So thank you, and I'm going to sign off. This is Catherine, the Chubby Adventurer.
And I'll say, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. So please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.